From the break, guys. It's the conversation segment. I'm Susan Jaroke. I'm your host, and I'll be taking you through this segment today. And joining us on Life and Style on Conversation is Wanjeri Nderu. Wonderful name, just rolls off the tongue. But once you hear what this lady does, you will know it is not so smooth when you're with her. Wanjeri Nderu is a human rights activist. She's also a communications specialist and a mother of 3 children. Hi, Wanjeri. How are you, Wanjeri? How are you?
Hi, Susan.
How are
Thank
you
you for
doing?
having me. I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for doing this. I'm very excited. So I will start by asking you how you are. We won't talk about yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit because me and you know yesterday you had a heck of a day. But I want to ask,
Yes.
how have you been? How have you been dealing with all these COVID-19 manenos that have been happening
Right.
in the world recently?
Well, as every other Kenyan has, we are taking it, or I'm taking it a day at a time, doing my best to keep myself safe, doing my best to follow instructions. That at times is very difficult in the line of, in our line of activism. And things like isolating myself becomes difficult. Things like staying home after curfew becomes difficult,
Yeah,
things like that. But other than that, just taking it a day at a time. Things have changed for everybody. Even in terms of our earning power, it's gone down. In
true.
terms of having just the kids at home every single day, and now we have another 3 months for them to stay home, trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to keep them busy, trying to be a teacher at the same time as a mother and a wife. It's not easy, but I'm sure the struggles I'm going through, other Kenyans are as well. So we just have to, take it in our stride.
That's true. That's true. I have to say you look great, and I love your lipstick. I can see you did your brows, girl. Even me, I managed to do my brows. As long
Thank
as we
you.
manage to do our brows, means things are not that bad. Like
Exactly.
at a brow you can handle. Right now I'm at eyebrows. I'm working my way up to other things.
Especially if you don't have eyebrows like some of us.
Yeah, like me, even me, I have to chora. So so today we are going to be discussing the pros and the cons of using social media for human rights activism or just activism in general.
Yeah.
And guys, you will get to hear her Twitter account. You need to go and check out her Twitter. She seems so chill and put together here. Her Twitter is the opposite. There's zero chill. There's no time for discussion, small. No. When you see her Twitter, you will understand better what I mean. However, for you being a human rights activist in Kenya, of course,
Mhm.
people will look at it. There's both sides of the story these days. So there's the KOT that
Mhm.
we think about where human rights activists are keyboard warriors. But there's also human rights activists where we're like, wanapambananga na tear gas. So those are the
Yeah.
two pictures people probably have of your day-to-day life. What I want to know is what does it look like for you? What does a day in your life as a human activist look like?
Wow. Um, First, most of the time I spend my time online. Okay, so social media is my tool for activism because I'm not funded by any organization,
Right.
whether external or internal. Every resource I use, I get it myself, most of the time from what it is that I earn, and also from support for people who believe in some of the things that we do using our social media pages. So I am a co-admin at a page called Buyer Beware Kenya. We have over 140,000 members over there. That is where most of the time we take our issues and we tell Kenyans we need to rally around this. I also have my own personal Facebook account that, well, according to Zuckerberg, you can only have 5,000. So you have already exceeded whatever. And I have my Twitter account with over 50,000 followers. So when I combine all three, it becomes for me a very powerful tool to have my messaging out there. But my typical day begins with I am, first of all, an insomniac.
Oh,
So yes. So I use that time to go through my inboxes to find out which cases I want to handle the following day because I can't take up everything.
true.
So according to your urgency, according to the gravity of the situation, that is what I wake up to the following day. So it can range from a family reaching out because one of their sons has been killed by cops, or it can be sexual gender-based violence, or it can be police harassment. It can be anything. It can be, oh, we are starving, we don't have food, I have 6 kids, it can anything that just touches on injustice in any way or form, I touch. So I decide the night before what I will wake up to the following morning. So with this COVID, my routine has changed a bit. So, I wake up in the morning, make sure the kids have had their breakfast, and we have decided which subjects they're doing for the day. My firstborn, who's over 16 years, at least is having online classes. So the other two, who are 11 and 7, I have to be like their teacher, which at times becomes a bit difficult because the math, for instance, they're doing in class 6 today, I can't remember doing many of those in my day. Yeah, so juggling it becomes, a matter of balancing.
Yes.
Yeah, and then after I'm done with them, now I take on whatever needs to be handled.
Okay. It's good also because it's a normal day, which is what I think for most people it should be like. What you do that's out of the ordinary and extra in your day is you're taking all this time to help other people and to genuinely fight for human rights. But it's a normal day, guys. It's a 24 hours a second. You have 24 hours. It depends on how you choose to use it.
Yeah.
So essentially being a human rights activist, from what you told us, is you can deal with just about anything as long as somebody feels their rights or there's an injustice that has happened.
Yes.
So what I want to know, between Wanjeri, who was born and was in school studying, and now this communications consultant and mother of 3, where did activism join in and why? What prompted you to want to be an activist?
I think a part of me has always been an activist. I grew up in a typical Mau Mau family setup. My grandparents fought for independence of this country. I grew up listening to their struggles. I saw them dying of abject poverty because of giving everything that they could to this country and the country not giving back. And I grew up angry at why we as a nation still do not enjoy the fruits that we supposedly got after independence. And only a few do, only a small clique right at the top of the triangle, enjoy the fruits of our freedom. And some of those questions I grew up asking myself, why does this word corruption? I don't like using that word corruption, by the way. I think it is a very Western way of glossing over the word theft. Because what we are dealing with is thieves. They may not grab your phone, they may not, put a gun to your head, but they're grabbing your future, the future of our children. They're grabbing food off our tables. They're grabbing our medical care. They're grabbing our security. They're taking everything from us by being thieves. So I call them thieves. I say, we need to stop. There's this story I was told by my grandfather about how they used to deal with thieves in the Kikuyu custom back in the day.
All right.
If you were a thief, you were put in a barrel.
Okay.
And they would take this barrel with you in it alive, and they'll roll it down a hill into a river, and you would drown in that barrel. That is how seriously we took any kind of thuggery in our culture. So when we come to tolerate it now as Kenyans, is it because we're not calling it what it is? Is it because we're using words that are making it look like, because go to Mama Mboga and tell them, or the lady who sells the fish by the roadside, oh, the government is corrupt. Oh, so-and-so is corrupt. They don't get it. But tell them, flani ni mwizi. So-and-so is a thief because they stole this money that should be for your local dispensary in Bungoma.
Yeah.
They get it. So it's part of what I do is also just educating the public about what their rights are, how to understand what the impact of some of these things we get from our leadership is to you as an individual. Connecting those dots that show you why you are eating 1 meal a day when somebody else has touched billions that belong to you in a foreign country abroad. So these are some of the things that push me to do what I do.
I like that. That is a situation actually for a lot of Kenyans. And I like that you took it and you were like, you know what? People have hobbies like swimming and golf. My part time is going to be fighting in these streets.
In fact, it's become more full-time than part-time the last 8 years, because I was actually just quit work 8 years ago, and I intended to quit for. I worked for a financial institution. I did financial planning and insurance for more than 10 years for some of them, good firms in this country. And I decided to take a year off because I would work 4 or 5 days, and then I take a day to do my activism or to rescue a child who's been, raped or things like that.
Okay.
And I said, I'll take a year off to just focus, because that time we had a huge problem that I recognized of boys being defiled, and the society doesn't want to discuss it.
Doesn't want to talk about
boys became the perfect victims of sexual abuse. So I decided to take 1 year off to focus on that. But I find myself 8 years on not being able to do an 8 to 5 job. And because the cases became so many, I had to do, I couldn't ignore when something came to my table. Then I now started digging into what I had, saved, and even support from family over the years to be able to do what I'm doing. And it's been like that. So by the time I decided, maybe I should do, because I'm a broadcast journalist by profession in terms of training. And I'm like,
and look at us in our roles.
No. And I'm like, I can put these skills to use. I can do communication consultancy. And what has happened is I've gotten some organizations have been very supportive in terms of giving me work when they have campaigns that they need to do. They ask me, how do we go about it? And I give them, So that's how I put food on my table now. So it's not as people are told, we do this so that we get money from Wazungus, and please bring those Wazungus. I need them.
I've also always heard the same. So I'm so glad you clarified it, because I'm just like...
When you get them, give them my number.
When I find them, I send them your way.
When you find them wherever they are.
So on social media, you are very passionate and you use hashtags a lot. So currently, even your handle, if somebody types it in, they will see your handle is #StopTheseThieves. Yes. You're living what you speak, guys. When she said she doesn't say corruption, she says theft. It is literally her Twitter handle name. And there's also the other hashtag, Release Kyama. So this is Mwalimu Mutemi wa Kyama. Released a video, and essentially there was men outside of a door. He was inside of the room. They broke through the door. We saw them come in with masks, and he was taken away, and the video stopped. Now you shared the video and you were like, just in case anybody wants to see what happened and understand that she was actually abducted and not necessarily arrested. Here this is, and we use all these hashtags, and we're able to pass this information through social media. But now there's the work on the ground. So what I want to know is, with #Release Kyama, of course the hashtag is done, you're at your keyboard, you're doing the work, he records it, it's on live, but now he was arrested and you actually were following up with the issue. Do you want to walk us through that situation and how it ended?
All right. So Mutemi wa Kyama is an activist, does the exact same thing I do, using social media to agitate for change, to educate the public, to call out theft and things like that. And he did this post that tended to anger some people. But it is true that the post was truthful, because that information is available in the National Archives.
Right.
And what these tweets were about, in just a nutshell, was giving Kenyans our history from independence. After we got independence, who are the beneficiaries? It is the small clique of people, their family members, their grandchildren, and it continues to date. The person who actually fought for independence, who is that actual Mau Mau person on the ground, did not benefit in any way. So this clique of people are mentioned in those archives at the National Archives. In fact, he's not even the originator of the thread. The thread came from somewhere else. All he did was take it and paste it on and share it on his Twitter and Facebook. So that is what we're suspecting they must have, that must have angered somebody. So they came into his house, knocked him and told him to open, that they want to arrest him. They're DCI officers. And he asked them, why do you want to arrest me? Do you have an arrest warrant? Do you have a search warrant? And when he asked them those questions, they broke the door down, went after him, and he recorded it live. And when he was recording it, he tagged some of us.
Yeah.
So we were tagged and we went through it and we took the clip and isolated it in case They will delete it from his Facebook feed. And we told Kenyans, Mutemi Wakiama has been abducted. And we looked for him for hours. In fact, we ended up locating him at Capitol Hill Police Station, where when I say things like breaking curfew, I went there at night to make sure that he was there. So we at times put ourselves at risk for some of these things, because if I met police, they would not have understood. They would have immediately taken me into quarantine. And we made sure that he was there. So the following morning, they said they're taking him to court. They decided to take him back to Nairobi area police station, where he was supposed to record a statement and check his fingerprints. We were there for more than 3 hours. They did not record a statement from him, did not process his fingerprints. Then they ended up taking him to Milimani Law Court. Milimani Law Court rejected the case. They said there's no case here, because the charge generally that they were charging him with was using social media to influence and mislead Kenyans. I mean, we have freedom of expression according to our constitution.
Just gonna be like, is that a thing? That doesn't sound like it's a thing.
Yes. So anyway, Milimani refused to take it. So they needed to look very quickly for another court. So they disappeared him from Milimani when the lawyers were in there finishing with the legal part of things.
Okay.
And I asked them, why are you taking him? You have to wait for the lawyer to come. But they just put him in a car and spirited him away. And we could not find him for another 2-3 hours. Then they lied to us, they've taken him to Kibera Law Court. So we rushed to Kibera Law Court. Going to Kibera Law Court, he had not been produced. Then we were told he's probably back at Nairobi area. We went back to Nairobi area, but we had left some activists at Kibera to be there just in case he is brought, because what they were trying to do is to separate us from him so they can have a court process without him being represented.
Right.
So we were alerted by activists that he had been brought back to Kibera. By the time we were rushing to Kibera, the court process had started without the presence of his lawyer. So I was one among the first to get there. We got there 3 ladies, me and 2 others. And we walked in, and I'm not a lawyer, but we stood in open court. And we told the magistrate, no, this process cannot continue because we have to wait for the lawyers to come. So anyway, the lawyers came. We had Martha Karoa as lead counsel with Haron Dombi. And the DPP sent a representative who stood in court and said they had asked for these charges to be withdrawn at Milimani, and they want them to still be withdrawn at Kibera. So you see, when these people were rejected at Milimani, they looked for another magistrate to try and push their agenda through.
Right.
And the court dismissed the case. So he was released. He spent one night. He was released yesterday evening.
And how is he?
On free bond. He's fine. Traumatized, but we soldier on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Yeah. And I think what I'd want everybody who's listening to this story to pay attention to is also, it is unfortunate, but it is the case. We all have to be aware of our own rights. I think a lot of the times with the situations that you're saying, with ill intent or without, if you're not aware of what procedures should be like and what your protections are and what your rights are, then you can easily get lost into the system or end up in a situation you should never have been in the first place. But of course, also from what I'm hearing, different people in their different roles are all trying to do their jobs. However, there's clearly people who want to intimidate others from what they share on social media. And I think that's a real issue going on here. Now, speaking of intimidation, in 2014, you were arrested. You had attended a political protest. In 2015, you were actually attacked by another man. In 2017, you were followed with an unmarked car you weren't sure of, but you managed to escape and get into a cab. You left your car, I think, at a cafe or a petrol station. And then in 2018, together with other activists, you still took the government to court. So what I want to know is not even like, after all that, why did you still take the Kenyan government to court? What I want to know is, with everything that you've gone through, why is it so hard for other Kenyans to fight like you do? Because like you're talking about as activists, you arrived at the court, you were 3 ladies. Even when you were taking the Kenyan government to court as activists, you were not 30, 40, 50, 60 of you. You were still very few. So why do you think that other Kenyans who might be as frustrated, who do say that there is injustice, don't quite get up and fight the fight as well?
I think, for me, and from my observation, there's been some apathy. You know, Kenyans are at a state where they feel helpless. They feel, what can I do? Even if I make noise, what can I do? Without realizing that just one person and the second one and the third one and the fourth one and the fifth one making noise, it is that collective noise that brings change. Just me as Wanjeri, I cannot change this nation. I can't. But collectively, together we can. And that is what you find some of the things we're able to do as activists. We may be very few, but it has an impact. And government notices, and that's why they come after us. I mean, it is not just following us. I have had to even flee this country with my entire family because of threats, because of the work that I do.
Wow.
So the government has also perfected the art of keeping Kenyans in a state of constant politicking. So you're either surviving, living to survive. Every morning you're waking up, where am I getting school fees from? Where am I getting food from?
Yeah.
Because of the state of our economy, which they have destroyed, they keep you in a constant state of survival. And when you're not surviving, in the evening, they're bombarding you in the news or whatever and in the newspapers with their politics. So you feel that thing of, it's too much. The load on you emotionally, psychologically. It is actually, it's for me, it looks like a brainwashing of some sort that has been perfected by the government, where you're meant to feel helpless, but we are not helpless. And the case you're talking about, actually, in 2017, we were not taking the Kenyan government to court. 2018, we were taking Kenya Power to court. And 6 of us sat down and decided that Kenya Power is stealing. We take one entity at a time. Yeah. Kenya Power is stealing from us left, right, and center. We need to take these people on. And the first case that we filed was sabotaged, unfortunately, by the lawyer who represented us at the time. And they did a handshake. And he removed the cases from court, even after Kenya Power admitted that they were actually stealing from us. And during that period, if you notice, if you can look back, the complaints from Kenyans about the bills and everything went down, because Kenya Power realized we've been taken to court and we are being exposed for the thuggery that we are doing.
Yeah.
But now, when the cases were collapsed using this handshake or a personal agreement on the side, we had to come back again, and we are back in court again. The 6 of us are back in court again with a totally different lawyer. So the government also, through their parastatals and middlemen, know how to sabotage initiatives that are done by us, the public. So we are currently in court still. The case is ongoing. We still want, and we have the campaign is called Switch Off KPLC, because we need to tell Kenyans, you don't deserve the thuggery from these people. These people are stealing from you. You're paying power bills that are exorbitant and are engineered to give money to a few people, whereas you, on the other hand, are the ones who are building mansions with swimming pools for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so true. Now, back to social media, and everybody check out that campaign she has just talked about. Yes. I do actually remember getting a bill that was very, very, very insane some time back, and me and a housemate of mine actually went to the KPLC offices, and it was sorted out very quickly. But what we realized was there's a lot of people who don't do that. So they might receive a bill, really question it, they don't understand, they're checking the meter, they're asking everybody in the house, all the power, and they'll pay the bill anyway, because they'll just trust and believe that that is what was calculated. But it's always important.
In fact, the theft has gone down since we started that case. We had DCI starting investigations last year, where some employees were taken to court, but that's not enough. The theft is not just happening with our bills; it's happening in a grander scale than just our electricity bills, which is a story for another day.
Yes. Now, you talked about how even when you finished your very, very heavy day as a Kenyan, working very hard to survive, you get home, and it's true, you're bombarded with even worse news on the news. And it's a lot of it. There's very few positive stories. And when you go on Twitter, it is the same. You go on Facebook, it's the same. Okay, Instagram, there's pictures, but still, it's the same. So with the movements that we've been seeing, obviously of late, there's a lot more activism, I guess, happening from individuals, with the Black Lives Matter movement sweeping all over the world. And now there's End Police KE here. There is, people looking at Africans and how they were treated and what we have done to unlearn things we learned from our colonialists. So there's a lot of conversations happening right now that are very important and are making a lot of people activists. But when we go online, we get so overwhelmed. So for our viewers who are watching, how do you declutter the information? I go to Twitter and I want maybe to know about the hard work that you're doing or how I can help somebody like you. And there's all these derogatory comments towards our government and towards our police. Then there's all these derogatory comments towards, women and da, 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 da. And then there's the people actually doing the work. But it's all there on my feed and it's so much. So what would you say to people that go on social media and just are feeling overwhelmed and don't know where to get the right information, what to believe, and most importantly, how to help as an individual? How do I actually help you do your job?
I tell people to pick a struggle.
Okay.
I myself cannot take on everything.
Yeah.
So I have decided to focus on just like 3 or 4 key areas, because if I decide to do everything, it's going to stretch me. Everybody just needs to pick a struggle. What are you passionate about? There is no way you don't believe in something. You must believe in something. If you think and feel that what the government is doing is wrong in terms of the thuggery of our money, in terms of not giving us services, in terms of the constant politicking that stretches us all the time, they keep throwing all these things, as you're saying, at us. Pick a struggle. Decide, you know what, I'm going to keep the government accountable by asking these questions. So when somebody comes and throws at you issues of child rights, you ask yourself, can I take on both? I can't. So let me just fix. Not all of us can multitask. So picking a struggle is very, very important. And that is exactly what we've done, for instance, with our page, Buyer Beware on Facebook. We have picked just a few struggles. And one of the main ones that we have done is charity. Like just in January, we took over 45 kids to school using that page. Individuals, we said, you know what, we have kids who have done KCPE, they don't have money to go to high school, we need to adopt a few kids. So the idea was just to take on 2, 3, 4, but before we knew it, we took 45 kids to school. Individuals coming and saying, I'm adopting this one, I'm adopting this one. By end of February, 45 children had been taken to school. Right? Now, we look at other things, like I'll give an example. There was a couple that was in a certain hospital with a bill of 1.8 million. Their child was not being given a formula because they could not pay the bill. We raised that money in 48 hours and we paid the hospital and the couple was released. So that's one of the things that's one of the many things that we do. The second thing we've taken on is theft. We organized Stop These Thieves, the Stop These Thieves campaign started in 2018, and we had a protest in Nairobi that was people-led. No donor funding, no nothing. If you wanted a t-shirt, you buy your own t-shirt. And people contributed 300 to buy a t-shirt. We had protests in 7 counties. Nairobi had the largest number of people with over 1,000 people, and we marched in 7 different counties simultaneously to say stop these things. So those are like the main 2 things we focus on: charity and theft. So if you pick a struggle, you're able to put your energies into it.
Yes.
Don't put yourself in everything. If you put yourself in everything, you stretch yourself too thin. So that's the advice I'd tell you. You go in there. Do you want to take on women's rights? Take on women's rights.
Yeah.
If you pick everything, especially without the experience some of us have, you get so drained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. Thank you.
But don't just sit back. Pick something. Pick something. Anything. Even if it's a tree, pick it. Don't sit back. Kenyans need to stop sitting back and being oppressed silently.
I like that. I like that so much. And I hope and I usually pray, because I think activists can be seen as, like in class, noisemakers. Activists are like the noisemakers of like the world. Like we feel like all of us are all trying to just peacefully get along. Well, as Susan, I can be like, no, I'm just trying to live my life. No, now Kina Wanjeri and Kina Bonives and whomever are coming with their noise. But what I want to actually say is thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do, because I feel that you are necessary. Whether or not somebody watching this is not going to join in, is not going to be an activist, I genuinely think that you're necessary. And for a lot of people who are sitting at home watching us right now, who do not know this, you have so many freedoms because of the work activists have done. You sitting and watching us on this television, having access to media, being able to watch all these stations, being able to switch us off, a lot of that is possible because of the work that activists have done. So thank you so much for everything that you do. That from me, Susan, I'm saying thank you for the rest. I don't know what newsmakers, it's okay. Me, I'm saying thank you.
Thank you for the appreciation.
So before you go, because I'm seeing time is up, I would like for you to give a final word for everybody. And I want you to talk specifically on what they can do using their social media. I think, like I've said, there's a lot of pressure right now. There's a lot of individual activism, but people are lost and they're confused. So for everybody who's watching us, who has a Twitter account or has an Instagram or Facebook account, what advice do you have to them when it comes to individual activism that they can start today?
You need to recognize the power you have at your fingertips. And once you recognize it, it has to translate to action off ground. Don't just stay on that keyboard. Secondly, we may call people keyboard warriors. Not everybody can go to the street. I can go to the street. I've kicked tear gas back to the cops several times. That is Wanjeri, right?
Okay.
But there are people who might not be able to do that. But which other ways can you support? If there's a cause we have started, like now what we did with Release Kiama yesterday, it would not have been possible to have over 40 million impressions to release Kiama that even got anonymous. You know, the anonymous, interested in the hackers, interested in the campaign, to a point that they hacked over 30 government websites last night. That was possible because people, you may not think you're an activist. You don't want to call yourself an activist. And you know, the word activist has been used in this term to demean us. But some of us own this term with pride. I am an activist, I am a human rights defender, and I am not ashamed of it. So when they say these activists or this evil society or whatever they want to call us, we are not embarrassed and we're not ashamed. And the support you can give us is join our campaigns. When we ask for help, especially if one of us is arrested and things like what happened yesterday, that support is what got Kiama released. We need, for instance, when we are fundraising for something like court cases, like the switch of KPLC case, we tried to fundraise for it, but people are not understanding what it is. We are still in need of money for legal action because we are fighting an entity like Kenya Power, who have the resources. Their lawyers are paid millions to come to the court for 5 minutes. Whereas us, we go into our pocket and we give our lawyer that money for that day, 5,000 shillings. It doesn't take much, but you can be able to come together and if we unite, we can be able to be a more formidable team against these oppressors and against the thieves that we are fighting. So join something, just take on anything that you believe in, whichever cause that you believe in. Join a group that is even changing your neighborhood. You don't even have to do it online, even in your neighborhood. Like I tell a lot of people in estates, and this is also one of those, and I hope there's a Kenyan who will come up and say, we are also going to say switch off Nairobi water, the way we are saying switch off Kenya. We can't do everything. We need people to come up and switch off Nairobi water, because what are they doing? They're switching off, literally, your supply into your estate, taking that water, putting it in water bowsers that they own, and then they come and sell to you in your estates. If you took that Nairobi water on, your water supply will come back. It is just us. But now we have this illusion, especially the people I call the middle class. And I tell you, you're a middle class. Your middle class is fake because you're just one hospital bill away from poverty.
True.
Just because you have 100, do you know what they classify middle class in this country as?
Is it
anybody who's earning 20K? No, anybody who earns 20K and above is classified as middle class in this country. Now you have 20,000 shillings. Is that rent? Is that food? Is that school fees? What is that? Now let's assume you're making 200,000 shillings a month, okay? And that 200,000 shillings a month, if somebody in your family got sick and they got admitted, they went into ICU or something, you're still paying the rent, you're still buying food, you're still paying school fees, you're still paying that loan for that car to that bank.
Yes.
That hospital bill is going to take you to that level of somebody who is below that middle class. So we need to stop this illusion that when we create, we bring up solutions that are private, like getting security guards, taking our kids to private schools instead of demanding for better schooling from the government. Those are not solutions. We are lying to ourselves.
Yeah.
So we would not exist as activists. We would not exist as civil society or any other person who does what we do if the government was doing its job.
Yeah.
Wanjeri would not be saying, stop these thieves. If Kenyatta Hospital, women are not sleeping, 4 to a bed, clutching their newborn babies. You know, Wanjeri would not be saying, switch off KPLC if the power that I'm supposed to be paying is 1,000 a month. But when you look at what they're giving us is 10,000 because somebody is stealing my money. You know, choose a struggle, and every Kenyan must. Don't just be angry, do something with your anger.
I like that. Don't just be angry. Do something
Yeah.
with that anger.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wanjeri. Could you please tell everybody where they can find all you noisemakers? No, where they can find you on Twitter and all your social media accounts, as well as the activism group that you guys have together for Buyer Beware. And anybody that'd like to contact you directly, where can they find you?
Okay. My telephone number is basically public. I mean, it rings on and off. I can't even switch it on in terms of Vibra or anything. As we are here, I can just see it pinging on and off. So my telephone number is public. Secondly, at Wanjeri Nderu is my Twitter handle, at Wanjeri Nderu. And I'm at Wanjeri Nderu Musembi on Facebook. Now, Buyer Beware Original exists as a Facebook platform. We have several that are fake. We have several that are fake that have tried to copy us with the same exact name. But when you search, you'll be able to see the one that has over 130,000 followers. That is the original one. But that one we admit, it's not an open page. So you just bring on and say you want to be a member, then the admins go through. We can't always remove everybody because we don't have the time and resources to be able to vet everyone.
Yeah.
But it is a very powerful space. People like now, we did a huge fundraiser for people, especially members who didn't have food during this COVID thing. We also ran for activists. You know, not all activists are able to feed themselves. We are frontline defenders, but we can't even feed ourselves in our own capacity, especially those in informal settlements. That group managed to feed over 300 activists in this COVID period.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so it is a very powerful platform.
Well, I like that so much. Thank you so much, Wanjeri. You guys know you can find her now. And again, I will reiterate, thank you so much for the hard work that you do. And I really appreciate you making time for this interview. And
thank you so
I hope
much.
everybody who has watched has been listening and has learned something new.
And I tell them there's nothing to be afraid. The more we are, they can't take all of us. The more we are, the better it is for this country.
That is 100% true. Thank you so much, Wanjeri. Have a great day.
Asante sana. Okay, bye.